You have entered attendee listen only mode.
3 to 10, good anechoic stroma. The resistive index should be between 0.6 to 0.7. Peak systolic velocity between 5 to 10. They're going to respond to standard protocols and adequate number of follicles. You're looking at the resistive index 6 to 0.7 and a peak systolic velocity of or even a little more. When do you call them low reserve ovaries? When you're looking at less number of antral follicles, you're looking at a largest diameter of less than 2 centimeters, volume less than 3 ml. Barely any antral follicles seen over there. No antral follicles seen over there. Then that was a question, undetectable basal ovarian stromal blood flow into low ovarian reserve. What is there in poorly responding ovaries? I'll tell you that. When you're looking at a high resistance, the RI, which should be between 0.6 to 0.7, is on the higher side. Or when you're looking at velocities, which should be between 5 to 10, and you're looking at less than 5. Your 2D findings are going to be the same, but because less blood flow reaching the ovary, so you're going to be panicking. Why? For the same sort of a pattern, I'm getting a much better response in one patient and not. This is because your color Doppler is helping in deciding which of these is a poorly responding ovary. Resistive index of almost 0.70, you're looking at less diastolic flow. So you can have these ovaries can be normal response, poor or hyper response, or they can be normal reserve, low reserve, or high reserve, or PCOS. Polycystic ovaries, you can take 7 cc, 10 cc, or C as the cutoff, whichever book, whichever charts you're following. I normally follow the 10 cc cutoff. Ultrasound features, large ovaries where you're looking at more than 3.5 centimeters, more than 10 ml. You'll see which is higher, 20 per ovary, that is FNPO, follicular number per ovary. With our machines getting better and better, we're looking in for much better of these, many more of these. Looking at polycystic pattern. Plenty of these. See, you can have a generalized distribution, you can have a peripheral distribution. You're supposed to be looking at stromal echogenicity. Stromal PCO is more echogenic. Area and volume also increase because these follicles become atretic, keep on settling in the ovary, and you have enlarged, much more echogenic stroma. Much more of stroma, many more of the cystic components. You need to be watching out for stromal. It's more in PCOS than in normal ovaries. Higher in PCOS with hyperandrogenemia and hyperinsulinemia. Less in obese PCOS. Uterine artery resistance high in PCOS, more so with hyperandrogenemia. Looking at plenty of normal flow. Stromal flow seen over there. You can see echogenic stroma, much more of a stroma that is normally seen, and you can look in for stromal hyperemia. Now that was as regards the baseline scan on to follicular maturation, follicular tracking. Follicles grow at a rate of 2 to 3 millimeters, and a follicle measuring 18 to 20 millimeters has been found to contain a mature two sides. We have cyclical uterine changes, cyclical ovarian changes, and patient. You're looking at this. That is the endometrium on the baseline scan, thickness less than 4 millimeters. Early follicular, you're looking at early pattern, thickness 7 to 9 millimeters. That I'm talking about ideal phenomenon. Late follicular phase, where the junctional zone merges with the endometrium, you're looking at a thickness of 9 to 12 millimeters at ovulation. I'm going to talk about in detail about the color Dopplers. Endometrial thickness of 8 to 10 millimeters optimum. Breach or irregularity, you're not comfortable. Multilayered endometrium is desirable. After extrusion, you're going to be looking at an echogenic endometrium, 10 to 14 millimeters. How do you figure out about endometrial and uterine receptivity? You're going to be looking at proliferation of spiral arteries, subsequent endometrial invasion. And there's going to be a reduced impedance in uterine artery flow. We have these various zones 1, 2, 3, and 4, and carefully see that. We're looking at these 4. That's the triple layer 1, 2, and 3, which I'm talking about the layers. Outside the layer, this is zone 1, or this is subendometrial flow. The moment you see flow in this area, this is zone 2 or the outer zone. The moment you see inside the cavity and this portion, mid zone or zone 3, and when it touches the central portion, it is cavity vascularization. Similarly, this side, over here is zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and then zone 4 vascularization. You're looking at subendometrial flow or zone 1 vascularization. And the moment with the increasing in thickness, with the days coming past, you're going to be looking at plenty of flow. Mid-zone, zone 3 vascularization is good vascularization. Then you're going to be insunating your uterine arteries, and the PI should be less than 3. A PI between 2 and 3 on the day of transfer or when you're planning to administer HCG is absolutely fine. And how do you look at it? You're going to be seeing the cervix, go on to the right side, see for the main uterine artery, back to the cervix, now span across and see the left side. That is how you're going to be insunating both your uterine arteries to get a flow. A notching is absolutely fine at this stage, and you're going to be looking at starting from here till this flow is how you're going to be calculating the uterine artery PI. On the right side, on the left side. Both sides. PI of 2.64, 2.66, perfectly fine, less than 3. If you see both sides, barely any diastolic seeing a PI more than 3, both sides. You need to be careful for, should I be doing the embryo transfer? Should I administer HCG? Do not feel only in IVF patients are you going to do so much. Just takes half a minute more and you're going to get plenty of information. You can postpone the HCG by a day, you can put by a day, and you're going to get much better results. It's a higher when the endometrial vascularity is zone 3. Absent endometrial flow, no conception. Here we see for endometrial peristalsis. See that coming from the corpus up till the fundus. You can see endometrial peristalsis. This should not be too much because then it can cause problems in the transfer of sperms, or when you're doing your embryo transfers, it might trouble. That was as regards the endometrium and the uterine areas. Coming on to follicles. This portion you're assessing for follicular maturity. We've done this endometrium. Follicular maturity, biochemical assessed by, and on the ultrasound, you can do your BMOS Doppler assessment. You need to be listening to these 3-4 slides because that is what is going to tell you the sequence of events. Level starts rising after the 5th day and it's responsible for perifollicular vascularity. As the perifollicular vascularity starts increasing from the 8th day onwards, there's going to be a fall in the perifollicular resistive index 2 days before the ovulation. When the ovulation takes place, the resistive index is going to be the lowest, is going to remain there for 2 days and then again start increasing. The resistive index is inversely correlated with estrogen levels, meaning estrogen levels are going up, which they should. The resistive index is going to come down, meaning there's going to be more perifollicular flow. Another phenomenon happening is increase in peak systolic velocity. Starts 29 hours before, continues for 72 hours after ovulation. This is what the LH surge is. So if you're looking at increase in peak systolic velocity, but there is not coming, you're not finding signs of follicular extrusion, you know that's a luteinized follicle. Marked increase in PSV around the follicle with a constant PI, sign of follicle maturity and impending ovulation. Stimulated cycles, the surge is surrogate by HCG or GnRH agonist. Perifollicular blood flow, estrogen dependent. Perifollicular peak systolic velocity, LH dependent. Features of a mature follicle on B mode: 16 to 18, thin wall, regular round shape, no echogenicity, thin hypoechoic rim, and in 35 to 40% cases, you can see a cumulus type shunt. If you're looking at an oval shape, you can always take in 2 measurements. If you're looking at a rounded one, you can take 1 measurement. We're looking at follicles increasing in size. Again, for your color Doppler, you're looking at proper over here. You're looking at a PRF filter at the lowest. What you need to be the perifollicular vessels are the ones that obliterate the follicular wall. If the follicular wall you're seeing it, means it's not a proper follicular vessel. These are the grades: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Less than 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, more than 75, and we're looking at around 50%. That is subjectively seen, and I'll just now tell you how do you look at it. Better perfusion means better oocytes. Proper perifollicular flow. Because you're using a power angio, does not matter at what angle, whether it's perpendicular or
Call mama, apa itu? Mama, apa itu?
ते आलंय बाहेर असं काहीतरी बाहेर असं हा पहिला आता म्युझिक आता मागतो